Hi there, I'm Square, and let's talk about anime. Now, anime is something that most of us are at least a little familiar with. But when we're growing up, most anime just kind of blends in as a regular cartoon. At least the ones we're usually exposed to as children. You could put Pokemon alongside something like SpongeBob or Adventure Time, and you won't think too much of it. But for some of us, we're exposed to an anime that stands out from everything else we've seen. And it's different enough that we know it's different. And it makes us want to look into it a little further and try to figure out where can we find something like it. Now that's what I kind of consider to be a gateway anime. An anime that piques your curiosity enough that you kind of jump down that anime rabbit hole a little bit. And then you're swept up into a whole new world of media that you didn't know existed before. That gateway anime for me was InuYasha. Before we move on, I want to give you a very basic history of InuYasha and its artist Rumiko Takahashi, to give you a little context of what we're doing here. Now, Rumiko Takahashi is still a very prolific manga artist in Japan. She has multiple successful series under her belt. Rumiko Takahashi is very much known for the strong and unique characters she creates, the comedy that she writes, and the exciting action scenes she's able to put on a page. And most of her series have really reflected her talents. Her biggest series before InuYasha was a series called Ranma 1/2. Now this series is pretty ridiculous. I'm going to try to explain a very brief plot outline. Try to stay with me. It's a little weird, but honestly, it's really great. Okay. So Ranma is a action, comedy, romance, martial arts, altogether series that's almost Monster of the Week if monsters were fiancés that want to come back because your panda father made a promise to marry you off to them in exchange for everything from the rights to a martial arts school to a okonomiyaki food cart. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, which, I mean, honestly, I think it sounds pretty interesting, I would say check out this series. Now, InuYasha was a pretty grand departure from what Ranma was. Ranma 1/2 was wildly successful. It ran for 38 volumes. It had multiple movies, multiple anime adaptations. It even had a video game at one point. So it seemed like Rumiko Takahashi really figured out that formula that worked for her. So it's a little surprising at her total tonal departure with InuYasha. While Ranma was a episodic comedy, InuYasha was very much story driven. InuYasha also was a lot darker and a bit more graphic, and honestly, I was probably too young to read at the time when I did, but I did it anyways. The story is one of the earlier isekai, where we have a young girl who falls back in time to feudal era Japan that is a bit more mythological than she realized going in, and gets wrapped up in this fairy tale-esque story full of drama and strong characters, twists and turns that you wouldn't see coming. But it also still has that Rumiko Takahashi charm, those characters and those comedy scenes and those little touches of romance thrown in as well. Now, this is a series that really got me hooked. And it's a series that wrapped up in 56 volumes and 200 episodes of anime, finally ending in around 2010 in Japan. Honestly, that was a long time ago. That was a whole decade ago since the series ended. So why am I talking about it now? Beyond just me exploring my own nostalgia to my gateway anime and reliving my youth. Well, it's because of YashaHime, a brand new anime that is scheduled to appear October 3rd. An anime that is a continuation of the InuYasha series. following the children of the main characters. Now, honestly, this is probably inspired by the Naruto reboot, Boruto, and it's totally a fan service pandering way to grab viewers and ratings, but I don't care. I am so excited. I just want to see what happened to these characters and visit this world again. And seeing this announcement has just renewed that excitement and passion in me that I lived through during my younger years. What's most exciting about this series is Rumiko Takahashi is coming back for it, along with most of the team from the original anime. And that is insanely exciting for someone like me who was such a huge fan of the original series. From there, I can't help but think about that again. It's been so long since I was able to visit that world and that series and that story and those characters. But on the other hand, it has been so long. And it's got me thinking, is this a matter of me revisiting nostalgia and possibly ruining this series that I have built up in my head, this influential series throughout my childhood? I'm definitely older now. I've seen and experienced a lot more media beyond anime, movies, and video games, and different techniques of storytelling. Will this series hold up? So I've been thinking, what I want to do is revisit the original series first. And I want to document it here. So that's my purpose for making this video today and starting this potential series with episode 0. This is going to be a InuYasha fangirl going back many years later and giving an honest reaction according to who I am today. Honestly, it makes me a bit more excited about it than nervous. Also, it's a great way for me to practice my digital art, as you're seeing going right here. I do consider myself much more of a traditional artist. I'm a lot more comfortable working with pencil on paper, coloring with markers or pastels, even watercolor. Digital art is something I've always wanted to explore and improve in, but it's always been a little bit intimidating. So what I decided with my big brain thinking is, why don't I put these two intimidating things together? The minor intimidation of revisiting a childhood series and possibly ruining how it is in my head forever. And the intimidation of experimenting with an art medium that I've been wanting for so long to improve in. And that should make everything okay, right? So what you can expect if you decide to stick around with me, which I really hope that you do, is a review and reaction to the InuYasha series as I slowly revisit it. Every time I revisit, I'll make a new episode. And with every episode I make here will be a new drawing. And I'm going to try to mix them up every week. This time I'm going for something a little fan arty. I wanted to just kind of play around with that kind of anime look and make it a little modernized, like Kagome's taking a little selfie of her and InuYasha. Honestly, I really just wanted to play around with expressions because that's one of my favorite things to do. So one thing I had to consider when considering this retrospective was the fact that InuYasha is a manga and an anime. And while the anime itself is based on the manga, due to the fact that they're both different mediums, it's just a different way to tell a story. So they differ. So with a lot of consideration, I decided that I'm just going to revisit both. Now, personally, I'm much more attached to the manga. It's what I was introduced to first. I reread it, I don't even know how many times. I went out of my way to find the volumes and read them any way I could. And the anime was something I did watch and experience, but not nearly to the level of the manga. But But I also recognize that a lot of people's experience with InuYasha is through the anime, due to the fact that it was widely available in American television because of Adult Swim. So it only seemed fair to really visit both. And I thought it might be interesting to kind of compare the decisions in storytelling and see which ones I feel were more successful. And I feel like that could be kind of fun.
Every episode, I'm going to try to push myself in a different way.
So it's a way for me to kind of stay disciplined in the way of rereading a whole giant series, and also stay disciplined in making new art as often as possible. So I guess that means I need to do that whole YouTube thing and ask you to like and subscribe and push the bell for notifications and tell your friends and visit my Twitter where honestly, I'm just flattered that you're watching this at all.